Welcome to the activation phase. I'm JP and joined, as usual, with my trusty co-host, Tim.
Hello!
All right, we are hyped. I think this is the first time we actually lost a recording. So we were both a little bit bummed out about that, but we managed to reschedule, hence the delay in the release. So,
bit unfortunate, really.
Yeah. Our apologies. We are back on track. We are motivated. We are hyped, I believe.
Yeah.
Good. And we are covering the free companies. So the last time we recorded this, it was probably one of the best episodes we ever recorded.
Yeah.
So it's a shame it will never be released, but we'll try to recapture the magic of that moment. But it's been it's probably been like 3-4 weeks now. So
Yeah,
I generally
maybe more.
can't remember what we said last time. So it's gonna be like you. So I'll probably say exactly the same stupid things, and you can correct me again.
Nice,
And,
clean.
It's gonna be like actual surprise in my voice. Anyway, let's start off with the fluff. So, free companies, they are generally like the ruffians and the professional soldiers which were released from service after or during the 100 Years' War, when the hostilities died down, or they had partial truces, or decided just to chill out for a few years. So all these professional soldiers were released into the countryside to fend for themselves, and they essentially formed bands of roving brigands, and they caused serious issues. And generally there was a kind of like a big civil war. I don't know, civil war. Like there was a big war within the war to eliminate them. So generally, in terms of saga, that basically means you can just put together a free company's warband with the models that you have and just say they're rampaging around the countryside. So that makes it incredibly versatile with just using your models and then just mixing it up a little bit for most of the factions. So if you're a Swiss player, you're kind of out of luck here. If you play pretty much everything else, you'll be okay. But having said that, I think also I will refer you back to the episode with Florian from I think last year, where we say that the free companies could potentially be used as a kind of like a Islamic stand-in for kind of like Islamic piracy on the kind of like southern France, Italy, etc. So if you have some Age of Crusade models from Islamic faction, you might be able to use them for this warband as well. So I think it's kind of like generic warband where you can kind of plug everything in. And the equipment option, yeah, I think its potential is immense. And it's also, if you're tired of just absolutely crushing people with your French, you can just chill out a little bit and play free companies, and
nice.
That way your opponent can have some fun as well. Anyway, this is reflected in the equipment choices. So let's just dive into that. There's no special rules, nothing funny going on. In terms of the equipment choices, your Warlord and Hearthguard can either be on foot with no special equipment, or they can be mounted on horses. So you don't have any option for barding here. The Warriors are either on foot with no special equipment, or they have the Pavises, again maximum 1 unit, or they can be mounted with obviously no barding. They're just like the standard mounted warriors with the 4/3 armor. And finally, you can have some levies either with bows or crossbows. So nice and simple. Pretty much everyone can somehow build this warband with your Age of Chivalry army. So it's nice and versatile. All right. Maybe before we kick it off, do you want to give some like the general vibe of the army, Tim, and how we envisage them being played?
Yeah, of course. So I think with this warband, you have two very important things. One is you want units with high armor, so you can benefit them to get the max out of each ability. And then because some abilities say Like you should have higher armor, or some abilities give defense dice or something. So that's always better with the higher armor you have, or cancel hits. Same idea. And so generally you want some hardcore with these guys for sure. And then one thing these guys are insane at is just staying alive, and because they have the high armor and generating a lot of attack dice through different abilities. Or I mean, a lot is maybe too much, but for Chivalry there's 3 abilities here that actually generate attack dice, which is very good. And so they definitely bring their Hearthguard and keep the Hearthguard alive very easily. So I think personally that's a very interesting playstyle. So let's get into the battle board.
Right. I will kick off with the basic abilities. So here, absolutely nothing special and out of the ordinary. So all good.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the board itself.
Cool. The first ability is called Cruel Slaughter, and it's a melee ability that takes an uncommon. It says gain 2 attack dice. If your unit's armor is higher than the enemy unit's armor, gain 2 additional attack dice. So that's somewhat easy to pull off if you do it with Hearthguard and you're charging anything other than Hearthguard or Warlord. You always get this. So that's an uncommon for 4 attack dice, which is very good. And then if you use your warriors to go into something, or your Hearthguard to go into Hearthguard, you need to do some prep work, have some fatigue on them, because this always checks for the current comparison. So if you lowered your opponent with the fatigue or increased yourself with the fatigue, then that again, of course, counts towards whether your unit's higher or lower, or higher or not. And so I think this ability is great. It still works if you can't make it happen with the higher armor. So that's 2 attack dice for an uncommon, which is okay. But 4 attack dice for an uncommon is really good, and definitely very good value in Age of Chivalry.
Right. Solid start. Let's go to the next one. It's called Mob Violence for a common. Yeah, these names are legit. Okay. So Mob Violence, common. This is activation. So activate up to 2 units to move, or activate up to 2 units to charge. Amazing. We love this. This is this checks the boxes. It's a common dice. You can always play this. There's literally no reason why you wouldn't play this, unless you want to shoot things. But generally, there's I think this is a play every turn kind of ability for a common. No-brainer. Let's go.
Yeah, it's really good. With as always with these abilities that just say activate up to X units to move or charge. That's also really good at keeping your opponent guessing at what you're going to do in the turn, and if you're going to use it to charge, or what unit you're going to use, because when you have these dice on basic abilities, your opponent can always check right, so they can activate one more warrior unit or one more Hearthguard unit, and with this you can activate literally everything to do literally everything. I mean, other than shooting and resting. Shooting and resting, but that is so good. The value and then the trickery in being able to play this, really nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So yes, Levy aren't a complete dead weight, which is always good.
Yeah, very much so. All right. The next one is called Cowardice, and it's an Orders ability that takes an uncommon. It says choose an enemy unit more than short away from any hero or Hearthguard unit from the same warband. It is immediately activated for a move and must get as far away as possible from your table edge. So you basically pick a warrior or levy unit on one side of the battle board that is not close to Hearthguard or heroes, and they just have to run away as fast as they can. Actually, it doesn't say just move certain distance or something, and they can be right close with you, but they can't be close to heroes or Hearthguard. And so I think this ability, because you do it in your orders phase, and it really helps with scoring when scoring is at the end of your turn, and can really mess up your opponent's plan, because if they end up having to activate twice, then that means they have to spend an extra die, just like you did, but they also come with a fatigue, so that's really nice. So I think Coward is a great ability.
I think this is the killer for the Swiss build as well at the moment, since they can't take any Warlord, obviously. and they can't take the what's it called, Hearthguard either. So
Yeah.
this is pretty nasty for them. And they can kind of, I guess you can punt around like the what's the warlord unit called, Gewalthut.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be fun. Okay, I suspect it might change in the future, but for now, enjoy it while it lasts.
I'm also not super sure if the Gewalthut doesn't count as a warlord for rules purposes, but maybe it doesn't. But maybe it does. So I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure. Well, yeah.
We'll,
Anyway,
we will not edit this in post production.
absolutely
We'll
not.
just
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
We are not that professional.
All right.
All right.
For the next one,
The next one is Spiteful Hate. This is using either an uncommon or a rare. It's a melee ability. The first time you use an enemy unit's fatigue, both increase your armor by 1 and reduce the enemy's unit or enemy's armor by 1. If you use a rare, gain both effects each time you use one of the enemy's unit's fatigues at this step. Fun time all around. I think, yeah, this is like absolutely beast mode on Hearthguard. Like, just absolutely insane. And what we're kind of getting to at the moment is like what you said right at the beginning. It pays to have higher armor in this particular board. Just going from 5 to 6 is just absolutely brutal, especially if you're playing the old rare and then you're hitting incredibly hard. So I think this one, both versions is good with the, but yeah, it's just amazing, right? I think it's good. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm a bit more skeptical as always with these kinds of abilities because it needs a lot of setup. So you need to put a lot of fatigue on your opponent if you want to use the rare. And then the question always ends up being, do you actually benefit from using a rare here? So increasing your armor possibly 3 times and decreasing your opponent's armor possibly 3 times. Because usually fights are always about one of 2 things. Either you want to kill your opponent or you want to survive yourself because it's about objective play or something like that. So in my experience, people will play towards that goal that they need to achieve right now. So if they close ranks, then they don't have a lot of attack dice anyway, and so you increasing your armor is not as valuable anymore. And so it's of course it's still good, but it's not uncommon or rare good sometimes, in my opinion. Maybe with 1 fatigue, this is good if you fight in a big warrior block, which exists everywhere. So with an uncommon, this is probably okay or good. But I think the rare on this is basically never worth it because if you have more than 1 fatigue on your opponent's unit, you're going to win that fight anyway most of the times. So don't really know why you would have to spend a rare on this when there's other places where you could put the rare and they would be more impactful.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think on the other hand, there are a lot of mounted units as well in this particular age. So closing ranks
you're right.
less common than in other ages, especially like free companies. You're not going to have a ton of shooting or anything else like that.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to be more inclined to being mounted than with other warbands. So
yeah.
But overall, I think like probably not the first place to put the rare. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure if you get like a juicy target, like yes, but I think it's uncommon, totally legit. All right.
I agree. Right, next up is Renegades. It's a melee ability that takes either die facing, so common, uncommon, or rare. It says gain 1 attack die. If you inflict at least 1 casualty, you can return 1 previously eliminated figure to one of your units with the same troop type as the enemy unit, or 2 figures if you use a rare and inflict at least 2 casualties. Alright, this one is really good, because for a common, let's say, you have the flexibility of putting any saga die facing on here, and I think personally any facing is great. And you basically use this to replenish a unit that usually did not partake in this melee. So you attack, and then you lose some guys, and then you have another unit attack the appropriate troop type to just replenish the guys that you lost in the first melee. And this gives you the attack die for that common, and you get the casualty back to your guys. So I think this is insane value because you inflict casualties in melees, and so this is not a rare case. And you gain the extra attack dice. I think it's just really good, and even the rare is pretty good.
I mean, this is like the ultimate in scenario play, right? You're like, oh, suddenly my unit is now generating saga dice because I put a guy back and I'm capturing objective, and it's so good either in like it doesn't matter like when you're scoring the scenario or when you're doing whatever. Like this is just gonna be amazing.
I agree.
So I think there was like quite a lot of discussion on the Discord about this particular one on how absolutely OP it is. But I think thematically it feels good though, because like you're basically a bunch of renegades and you're kind of like gaining guys, gaining war.
Yeah, you're converting people.
Yeah, like basically it's like instead of killing them, they're like, oh, why don't you join us? And they're like, oh, sweet. And so I think it's thematically it's really cool. It's a good idea, but it is one of the kind of like these abilities, like the Persians with like bringing back the entire unit, which is kind of gross. Or I guess the Ordenstadt now with like their good way of bringing back more guys. This one's a little bit more chill, to be honest. So they seem to have found like a happy medium.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that there's no strings attached. So if you just, in the worst case is you use a common to get an attack dice, which is still like combat bonus. So, and there's no drawbacks or something. So I think this is it's a really chill ability, basically perfectly sums up or showcases what an ability that you want new players to use looks like. So I love this one. I think it's really nice.
Awesome. Also, any dive facing, so you're good to go.
Yeah.
The next one is also any dive facing. This sneaks and robbers. So it's a shooting reaction. Your unit automatically cancels 2 hits suffered. If you use a rare, it cancels 2 casualties instead. So, I mean, shooting reaction, like you don't have any barding or anything like that, so you're pretty vulnerable, especially with your warriors on a horse, if they somehow end up within shooting range of something, or within pike range, for example. So I think this is kind of like where it becomes good. I'm not sure I would put putting a rare on it, the 2 casualties is insane because you still get to roll for
it's crazy
defense or what's it like they get for the shooting defense, so 4+, and then if you cancel 2 casualties, generally you're completely negating like a shooting attack. Even the 2 hits is still pretty solid if you just want to throw a common on it. So I think this is like a generally all-round good ability. You're definitely going to use it with your mounted guys, probably with your guys on foot. They become even more beastly and useless to shoot. So I think all in all, it's like a good utility piece. I wouldn't be parking like mounted warriors in front of like crossbows and hoping that this will get me out of it. But I think it generally just makes you kind of survive like a single shooting attack really well. So there's not a lot of other shooting defense on this board.
Yeah, it's just I usually somewhat dislike, or usually dislike abilities where you just take away attack dice from your opponent. But this doesn't give you defense dice, but still kind of scales with your armor, and so you have some sort of control about how good this is, and I think this is nice. And yeah, putting a rare on here is just a big, like you just save a lot because it just keeps you guys very safe is what I'm trying to say. So, and especially with Hearthguard, you need that because one bad roll with a Hearthguard save can just absolutely lose a game. I feel like that's the biggest problem with Hearthguard right now, that they can sometimes be fragile because you're unlucky, and then you lost the game because literally one roll of saves was bad. And with sneaks and robbers, that completely changes that dynamic, because these Hearthguard are much more likely to live and actually see combat and do important stuff. And so I think this ability fits this board really well, and so is really nice. Alright, next up is Den of Thieves. It's an orders or orders reaction that can take either a common or an uncommon. It says, remove a fatigue from a friendly or enemy unit within short of an area of terrain. Then place a fatigue on another unit from the same warband within short of an area of terrain. And this is incredible. The flexibility on this is insane. So just some use cases for this. I think the most obvious is you have an important combat unit and it's close to a piece of terrain, and you take the fatigue from that unit and put it onto your warlord or something, because they can just easily wrest it away. But there's so much you can do with this, because you can spread the fatigue from one side of the battleboard to the other side of the battleboard, just as long as you're close to terrain. And so which I usually do, having a small unit of 4 warriors or 6 levies to enable me to bring a big unit of 12 warriors somewhere to generate dice. This is incredible with that unit, because you can just put your fatigues on that small unit that's generating dice anyway. It's never going to fight. And then, they're going to accumulate 3 fatigue over the course of a game, but who cares? That's insane. And of course, the same goes for your opponent, where you see they have like a 2 stack of warriors left, and they're never going to do anything this game. But you can just take that fatigue and put it onto their warlord or onto their Hearthguard and make the charge easier, make the armor requirement for the other ability easier. And I think this ability feels great. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, I think this is the one, or how you can force the armor advantage as well.
Yeah.
For Cruel Slaughter and what's the other one? Spiteful Hates and stuff like that. So I think, especially just for a common as well, like it's a little bit of a no-brainer to swing advantage to your side locally, and just being able to focus on like a specific side of the board and just say, okay, these guys are going to die because now they have a what's it called? A fatigue. Also, it's nice because it's an orders reaction, so you can mess around with. You can wait to see what your opponent is going to get up to, and then move it in your opponent's or at the end of your opponent's orders phase as well. So I think that's also, just leaving it on the board is just such a good thing to do, to mess with your opponent's plans. So I think this is such a cheap ability as well for what it does. So I think it's anything where you mess with your opponent's plans is always good. It just puts a lot of they have to maybe put down like an extra dice for an activation because they think you're gonna fatigue someone or something like that. So I think it's all around really good.
Nice one, just a nice one.
Yeah. Next one, I think the first 2 dice ability on the board. It's called Trickery. So this is 2 commons. It's a melee ability. So at the end of the melee, remove a fatigue from your unit and place it on an enemy unit within M. Yes. Okay, it is 2 dice ability, but absolutely sweet. Like, you're just first of all, I mean, basically it's 2 in 1. Like, you don't get the fatigue, and then secondly, your opponent does get the fatigue. So I feel like that justifies like the 2.
Yes.
Like, if you take these individually, it like you're just like, it's good, and then on top of that, it's just in a melee, which means your guys are fresh, either to receive a second charge in your opponent's turn or whatever. I think also this is like an absolute warlord killer as well. If the warlord wants, if your opponent warlord is kind of like getting involved in melees as well, like here you can just stack fatigues on the guy and he's going to be screwed the next turn. All in all, I think this combines incredibly well with like all of the stacking the armor towards your
Yes.
as well. So I think it's like this and the Den of Thieves, such a key ability to kind of force, to ensure that you have the higher armor on this to kind of get the advantage. So all in all, solid.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if the ability for a common said either at the end of the melee, don't put a fatigue on your unit, or if it said at the end of the melee, put an additional fatigue or put a fatigue onto an enemy unit within medium, I'd happily pay either of those, and then so I'm still happy to pay this, of course, and so it's not just the enemy unit you just fought; it is any enemy unit within medium. So the flexibility on this, again, your guys are fresh, your opponents are weakened, your opponent's unit are weakened. I love this. So good. All right, next up is Deception. And it's a shooting or melee ability that can either take a common or a rare. And it says, gain 2 attack dice. Your opponent must remove the first casualty, or the first 2 if you use the rare, from a different non-hero unit in its warband within medium of the unit targeted by the melee or shooting attack. So this basically says the best case scenario for this is you shoot some levies and they have bows and they're absolutely easy to kill, and your opponent, because there's a Hearthguard unit close to those levies, your opponent needs to take 1 or 2 guys from the Hearthguard instead of from the levies. So this is basically the best case scenario for this. But the floor for this ability, so the worst thing it can do, is just give you 2 attack dice for a common. So that's really nice. And this is also one of the abilities that can just wipe 2 units in a single attack, which is always nice. So you can, or take a saga die from a unit that is adjacent to the one that you're attacking. I think, again, the flexibility on this and gaining 2 attack dice is just a nice ability.
Yeah, and M away from the your unit that you're attacking gives a pretty large bubble where this is applicable to. Like, you'll definitely have something in that bubble worthwhile to chip away some extra casualties. So I think all in all, it's a solid little tricky little sneaky thing you can do. Okay, awesome. I think the final one is Villainy.
Yeah.
It's a common dice. Again, melee. So gain 2 defense dice this time. You can discard up to 3 attack dice to gain as many defense dice as you discarded attack dice. I mean, if you really, really need to survive for a common, this gives you like up to 5 defense dice, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So if you really need to survive, play a common and become absolutely invincible. So I think this is good. Like, it's hard to be angry about it. Like, yes, you are losing defense or attack dice, but who cares? Like, you can generally, if you have a bunch of fatigue or something, you're not going to do anything anyway, so you might as well play this and gain some extra defense dice and survive. So I think this is good. This helps your Hearthguard to survive, helps your Warlord to survive. Generally, all around good. I think.
Yeah.
Like, this board is so incredibly forgiving in terms of like the dice that you need to roll.
Yes.
I think last time we were also talking about, like, we're just talking about commons, uncommons. Like, yeah, you've got a buff for the rare, but it's not. You don't have to pay the rare for any of these for it to be really good. And then you have 2 abilities which accept all dice facings as well. You only have 1 ability which has which requires 2 dice, and those are just commons as well. And to be honest, there we just said, like, it's totally worth, even if it was like 2 separate abilities with like a common, it would totally be worth it. So all in all, I think this is like a super chill board in terms of you're not going to be stressed out about like, oh, I really need to roll like 3 uncommons and 1 rare. Otherwise, my entire turn is ruined. Like here, it's pretty manageable all in all.
Yeah, definitely. And just quickly, because I think villainy is extremely good, like ridiculously good in this age. Because as we said in the beginning, the your units usually want one of two things. They either want to live because they need to, I don't know, keep their saga die or stay on the objective, or they want to kill your opponent, and because they should not keep their saga die or stay on the objective. And so, because you usually don't want to do both at the same time, I mean, sometimes, of course, but in my experience, where it's scenario play, it's usually one of the two. Villainy is basically you close ranks. Yeah, you have 3 attack dice that won't do anything to your opponent anyway, and so you get just 5 defense dice for common in melee on Hearthguard. Who's gonna move these guys? Like nothing can move them, and so I think that feels incredibly nice and super tough, and exactly what these guys should feel like hardened veterans or Hearthguard of war that can just defend themselves if they need to. Really cool.
All right. I think we are now, we are at the end of the battleboard abilities. Let's talk a little bit about your band composition. How would you be playing these gentlemen?
Honestly, any way you want. I think somewhat Hearthguard heavy, so maybe 3 points. So that's probably 6 and 6 Hearthguard. And then because you want the small unit that's just standing around to generate a saga die for you, it's probably 12 and 4 warriors, so that's another 2 points. And then the last point, you can either put crossbow levies or you can put the best mercenary you can find. But I think this way you have 3 big fighting units that can kind of help each other out by putting guys back with renegades back into the other units that already lost fighters. And you have both types, which is important, so warriors and Hearthguard, so you can use renegades for either of those to gain depending on what your opponent's bringing. And so yeah, I think that's a good starting point, and you just figure out what you really want to do from that. So 6 Hearthguard, 12 warriors, 4 warriors, and then maybe a nice mercenary or just the levies with crossbows.
Yeah, I think there it's so incredibly flexible, which makes it nice. Like you can just throw in your French. They're now free companies. You can throw in your
absolutely,
even
yes.
your English. Maybe a little bit more difficult, but they can with maybe 1 extra unit or so, they'll be fine. So I think that really fits as well. You can really tailor it to your playstyle. In terms of mercenaries, I think the obvious one at the moment is also kind of a cannon to provide a little bit of shooting and fatigue, or extra fatigue. Also, it's half a point, and generally it's probably your. Or, let me put it this way: you have some multiple activations with the mob violence. You have a relatively dice, not hungry, but like the opposite, relatively flexible board.
It's just dice chill board.
Yeah, dice chill. New term. So I think the cannon there is okay. You're not like you need to find somewhere a like 5 uncommons or something that way. So I think for the cannon, it's fine as well. You can put down some extra fatigue. I think men at arms probably interesting as well because they do a lot of extra attacks. I don't know. Like there's so many things you can do, and it's probably going to be okay, which is kind of like nice. You could just chill.
Yeah, I agree. So that, yeah, you can do all of that, and it will work. So I think for the cannon, if you bring it, you really have to make sure that you still have 6 or 7 dice. So that I think probably ends up with like 6 Hearthguard, 12 warriors, 4 warriors, 4 warriors, and then a cannon, because you can't really go below 6 dice with this board. I think it's not dice hungry, but you still want to be doing stuff. So, and activating your cannon, of course. So yeah, your Warlord's really good on this battle board, by the way, because you want to bring Hearthguard and you get rewarded for having high armor, and you can move around fatigue. So he can be a real beast with this board. So having him babysit a cannon is definitely suboptimal in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's do figure out what you want to do with this. Honestly, there's a lot to do. There's not many mistakes you can make. Maybe bringing too much shooting is a mistake because the board doesn't support a lot of shooting, a little bit, but not a lot. And so more than one unit is probably a waste. But other than that, just go wild.
Yeah, I think this is a nice little chill warband. So
It
looking forward
is
to
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
I think also in terms of playing itself, like there's a little bit of everything to make it interesting, and for your opponent as well. It's like none of these are like super feel bad type abilities as
Or
well,
incredibly
where your
oppressive or
opponent,
something, yeah.
yeah. So I think there it's like a really positive play style for your opponent, for yourself, and it's just I think it's like a little palate cleanser if you're sick of playing like the like your standard warband and you just want to branch out a little bit. And in terms of fluff, like it's like everyone can kind of turn to a little bit of pillaging on the side, so it's like you're if you're really attached to your warlord or something, or your heraldry, like it's okay. Like everyone feels the need to engage in a little bit of pillaging here and there. And then, so I think it feels like fluffy and fun all around. So I think it's good. I'm looking forward to giving this one a spin.
Yeah, all right. So before you give it a spin, give it a rating, JP. What's your rating?
Yeah, well, here the difficult one is like, what are we rating it out of? Like, this is the question here. Like,
Oh,
all right, I will give the number, and then you will give the
sure.
unit of measurement.
Yeah.
I will say this is on a pure like power level, I would say a 3. However, fun and versatility bumps it up to a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, all right. I'm still thinking about the unit, and I definitely, even power level wise, I'm happy to give this a 4 because I think it can literally deal with everything and anything. So makes it a powerhouse in the right hands. I think, for example, I'd be very scared of Hamza playing with this because it feels like he could maximize those combos and make sure that the fatigue is, I don't know, used correctly in the right places. This feels like a Hamza warband to me. I don't know why. And so the unit of measurement is probably the chills we give, because we give a lot of chills. So this is 4 to 5 chills for me. Very chill.
All right. So I think we should actually just say this is like the Bob Ross warband.
Yeah.
You could just like do a little bit of everything. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. It's gonna be fine. Just roll some dice, trigger some abilities, and you'll be fine.
And put a little fatigue here. Take a little fatigue away there.
Yes.
I think we settled it. It's 4 out of 5 Bob Rosses.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Good way of finishing this warband. So thank you very much to everyone for reaching the end. Sorry about the delay. We hope to get back on track as soon as possible. So take care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.